All right. We'll kick off the last session of the 12th Annual Forum 2025. It is about a panel with secretaries on finding the next gear, India's push towards a $7 trillion economy. Over the last 2 days, we've heard various policymakers, especially some of the ministers and officials of the government of India, as to what the strategy is, what's the roadmap looking like, and what are the steps being taken. But the ones who are actually executing the roadmap are the secretaries of two very critical departments, actually three. Two of them are here right now. First, if I may introduce, and with a round of applause, Shri Neeraj Mittal, who is the Secretary Telecom of Government of India, overseeing a very, very critical aspect of our digital infrastructure and ensuring that there is a level playing field, more competition, and many more players coming in, including some of the world's leading players. Along with him is Sanjay Jaju, Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Again, a round of applause for Mr. Jaju. Whoever has been in Bombay earlier this year would have seen the spectacle of waves, which was there, and I was lucky enough to be a part of it. As the minister very kindly said yesterday, one of the global CEOs apparently commented saying, I came with the expectation of a third world conference and I'm going back with the first world reality, which is a new benchmark for the first world. So amazing job there, and I'm sure their work never stops. So I'll let the secretaries talk. But before I go a bit more into the session and what we are going to discuss, I just wanted to quickly give a flavor to everybody about PAFI and how, just like the vision of the Government of India to grow the economy to the next stage, how PAFI has kept pace, although if one were to go with the minister's inputs, I think we need to do more. He's like, you better plan for a higher growth rate, given that India is going to grow at a greater growth rate. So just to give you an example, some of the data points that Harsh shared with me, an amazing team that has executed the annual forum. This time we had 950 registered delegates. Some of you are here, so a round of applause to yourselves. Just to kind of give a sense, almost going toward 1,000 people attending over the last 2 days, which is highly commendable on a weekday in Delhi to be interested in policy issues and also listening to some of the very, very critical voices in the country. 15 sessions this year compared to 14, and we have managed it on very good timing, I must say. So well done, Harsh and team, and everybody at PAFI. We had 10 more speakers than last year. Last year it was 70 speakers who spoke on this stage. This year we've had 80. We have almost 115 out of 126 PAFI members attending. Also, the support, which is very critical, and thanks to some of you here, thanks to some of those on the stage, our supporters have gone up from 19 to 28. We had 29 sponsors last year. This year we had 35. Hope to touch triple digits maybe at some point time soon. The minister threw a challenge this year saying do something different. Hopefully we will do next year. But this year, for the first time, to both Shri Mittal and Sanjay Jaju, we published a book which will be presented at the end with contribution from some of the leading voices called The Policy Pivot. It's the first time PAFI has released a book and is being commercially sold. We just had the World Economic Forum CEO talk to us. The first time a US governor, despite the political turbulence between the two countries, from the state of New Jersey spoke here. And we cannot leave out social in the world of social. So LinkedIn follows have doubled in the last 1 year. So just to show a big round of applause to PAFI and the entire team, which has managed to kind of lift the benchmark once again. So we are not yet at the first world benchmark on a global conference, but we are getting there very soon. Mr. Jaju, you have some things to teach us as well as we move forward. But just to come to the session, given that Chetan, as the president of PAFI, is moderating it, and it's under his leadership, we have kind of reached here. And hence, it is appropriate that the last session that Chetan will be moderating is about India's aspiration towards the $7 trillion economy by 2030. And some of the highlights that we heard from Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav yesterday, and from Mr. Bhupendra Yadav, and from Hardeep Singh Puri as well. What are the basic building blocks that are being put out? Many interesting policy interventions, such as bilateral trade agreements. One of them is still pending, we know which one. Schemes like the PLI, the National Logistics Policy, in the creative world, Indian Institute of Creative Technology, et cetera, et cetera. And all of this is able to navigate the geopolitical uncertainties, which I'm sure Mr. Jaju and Mr. Mittal are much better aware of. So the question is, under the guidance of these two esteemed secretaries, and will be joined by Mr. Srinivas, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, what do we need to do next to align with the unstable environment? What kind of alignment does India need on the economic diplomacy, digital infrastructure, and financial reforms front? And how can schemes like the PLI and FTAs be better synchronized with trade, technology, and investment strategies to expand India's global competitiveness? With that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague and President of PAFI, Chetan, to take it away. Chetan, over to you, and we'll welcome Mr. Krishnaswamy as and when he comes in. We're also joined on stage by Nikhil Rao, Vice President of India Operations at Flex, and Sunita Patnaik, Partner and India Head at Albright Stonebridge, who will be the discussants to this session. Chetan, over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shivnath, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As Shivnath said, we have two influential, formidable individuals from the Government of India to interact with us this afternoon. And I thought it's best to dive into the session right away with an opening statement from Mr. Mittal, followed by some opening comments by Mr. Jaju. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I know this is your last session, and most of you must be, really itching to get back home, relax. So I'll keep it short. The fact that Chetan calls us formidable is bad for us because the government and the Prime Minister is saying government should not be, looked upon by industry as being formidable rather than being a partner. So I think the entire debate and the entire discourse of, our job description these days is to make sure that we don't get in your way. And that's and enable the entire business ecosystem to function. Telecom is an important player in that. I'm sure I don't have to explain that to you, but I'll just highlight a few facts as we move to the 7 trillion economy goal. Telecoms, share to GDP is roughly about 6 to 8%. We hope that will increase to about 8 to 10%. There is a direct linkage between the broadband penetration and the GDP. It's about, I think, a 10% growth in broadband leads to about 1.5% growth in GDP. And that causality is not hard to see. Broadband in every nook and corner of the country leads to business activities. It reduces friction. It improves efficiency. It lets you do much more than what you would otherwise do. It lets you do more. And therefore, government has spent a lot of time, resources in enabling our telecom service providers to provide one of the fastest rollouts in the country of 5G. You might not know that, but we cover 99.6% of the districts with 5G. I think there are only 2 districts in the country which yet don't have, or maybe 1. About 300 million people are connected to the 5G network. All of you are connected here because you're in Delhi. All of you have 5G access. All this comes at what? It comes at a cost of 8 cents per GB. The average, I don't know, many of you travel to US, but what is the average, data rate? Anybody takes a guess? $2.50 to $3. And India does it at 8 cents. So, and our median speeds are, over 100 megabits per second in broadband. So on the one side, you have massive quantities, but at a rock bottom price. And I think that sums up the efforts of the government, of the private sector, all of you here, the OEMs who are here, the telecom service providers. And government is now really moving to bring about self-independence and Atmanirbhar Bharat, which we can talk later. But I think the sum and substance is that telecom is an enabler, and government has done tremendously well. We look forward for any suggestions from you as we go along in terms of improving the ecosystem further. So with that, I'll close my remarks.
So thanks a lot, sir. And again, just to clarify, when I said formidable, I meant formidable in terms of talent, vision, execution,
Okay, thank
etc.,
you.
etc. So, sir, over to you.
Thanks, Chetan. So, where do I start? I should start from the point where my friend Neeraj ended, right? So, I actually have two hats. I mean, I have one hat which kind of tells me that when we talk about economic growth, what are the key things that are happening in our country which are helping us shape this growth path. There are a lot of reforms happening, the GST reforms. I mean, it all started in when GST as one nation, one tax started, but now that you have a whole range of reforms being carried out, a lot of economic reforms taking place. You had the insolvency code which came in. You have the Jan Vishwas which kind of decriminalized a large number of economic offenses. You had the corporate tax being cut down. You had the faceless IT system that's now been created, and the whole range of initiatives that have been put into place for easing the pains of the business. So effectively, my one hat tells me that you talk about what's all is happening to spur the economic growth in our country. And of course, a major chunk of this economic growth is also coming in from the infrastructure spend that's happening in our country. Close to about 11 lakh crores gets spent on capital works from the union budget, and that's a huge money, and that's again spurring the economic growth. At the same time, the inclusive part of the growth is another important factor. I've been into a lot of hinterland this entire month, and when you go to a village, you realize that the ease of living and the quality of life for an average low-class Indian citizen has also improved tremendously. Be it access to housing, be it access to drinking water, access to toilets, access to good roads, access to telecom, as my friend Neeraj was telling you, access to food, access to a whole range of stuff that's actually happening in the villages, access to electricity in many cases now, it's 100% saturation now, and you also have access now to what you called as tap water at your houses. So a lot of inclusive growth happening in a lot of our hinterland, coupled with the infrastructure that is getting created in our country. And so on the one hand, you have all that it takes to become an economic powerhouse. You have close to about 7% growth rate. But if one has to reach the $7 trillion dream that's put out here, I think we'll require this sustained growth over the next 25 years. And that's how the India vision with the Honorable Prime Minister has laid out for 2047 is going to be of huge significance, and it will require concerted effort both on part of the government as well as on part of the industry, civil society and everybody to kind of bring that dream to fruition. My other hat is on the other side. While you may have economic growth, but what's important is that your stories travel. Your stories travel would mean that you need to have your soft growth as well. You need to have your soft presence across the world, as is known as a soft power. I think that's also equally important. You want your stories to travel, you want your cinema to travel, you want your food to travel. You have a huge diaspora. We have close to about 4 crore people who live outside India. They're all our brand ambassadors for our soft power. So that our presence is felt, and for a country that's as diverse as India is, it's important that our economic growth does not remain economic growth alone. It has to be the soft growth coupled by the diversity of culture, the diversity of craft that our country possesses. And that's the other hat which I wear, and that's where Waves coming from. Waves was about our soft power. Waves was about telling the whole world that, look, this is the diversity of the culture that this country has. There are, as the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, we have close to about 10,000 stories which are waiting to be told, and I think we have only told 25 so far. And with the rich cultural heritage that we have in storytelling, it's important that our soft power also grows in proportion. So I think it's important that we keep an eye on the economic growth of 7 trillion. Second part is important that it becomes inclusive. It should not remain, as they call it, a K-shaped curve, where it grows for one community and it comes down for another. And so it's inclusive, it takes everybody along. And the third piece for me would be the soft power. It should resonate across the world. And I think all this together, for me, becomes the 7 trillion dream that we're talking here.
No, absolutely. I think you make an extremely valid point in terms of ensuring that, in order to sort of grow our economy and hit the numbers that we aspire to, there is also need to position India as a soft power, and we have the basic ingredients, the rich, vibrant cultural tapestry of stories and narratives and tales is what India is all about. So my question to you is, the media and entertainment industry in the last couple of years has shown a year-on-year growth of about 15%, outstripping India's GDP growth rate, and primarily owing to digital media. So what plans does the ministry have to become this, one-stop hub for content? And also, what steps are we taking to really invite global production houses into the country?
Yeah, it's a good question. So while, we are growing at 15%, which is like double the growth that the country as a whole has in terms of the economic pie that you have. But the fact remains that we're still at 2% of the global media and entertainment business. So, which effectively means that we still are not there. Our soft power is still not there. While we have one of the most ancient and richest cultural heritage of storytelling across all traditions, the visual traditions, you started with the dancing girl during the Indus Valley civilization, and then to all the Natya Shastras, etc. You have the, as they call it, we called it like Drishti, which is the visual tradition. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Kriti, which is the written traditions. And when it comes to written traditions, it all started from oral traditions right down till the Vedas and the epics that you have, and then, now the current age of internet and newspapers, etc. And then you also have to also look at the oral traditions that we have in our country. And so if you combine all this, we have one of the most richest cultural heritage when it comes to the media and entertainment, as you call it now, which is nothing but actually the amalgamation of the oral, written, and the visual traditions. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the size now, it's just 2% of the global pie, which means that we need to really do a lot to ensure that we get a bigger share of it. As you rightly pointed out, it's one industry which is getting heavily disrupted. Technology disrupted it, but every disruption sometimes brings in its own positives and gains that comes to the sector. So technology definitely disrupted it, but it helped the sector grow. While we had the tradition of Ramalilas, etc., about 150 years back, then started to come to cinema, then you have the television, then you had the radio, then you had the internet coming in, and then gradually it moved to social media now, and then now you have the OTTs. So this entire cross-section which you have in the media and entertainment business is getting disrupted every decade if you kind of notice the change. And the biggest disruption is now coming in. The biggest disruption that's going to come in with the generative AI that's happening. I mean, you're able to do things that possibly a visual effect artist would take about decades to produce, and the same stuff can be produced in a year's time. And on the other side, like for example, there are videos being made, there are songs being made, all through AI. So it's a segment which is going to get completely disrupted. So it's important that we look at this sector. This sector actually thrives on only two modes. The revenue stream actually comes in either from subscription or from advertisements. So this segment has huge stakes in in the growth of the economy. The economy grows, the advertisement pie grows, and effectively this segment gains and grows. But this segment, on the other hand, also can contribute to the economy in other ways. So it's kind of a circular economy that you create when it comes to media and entertainment along with the overall economy. But yeah, it's important that we lay out policies that are conducive for media and entertainment. As you would understand, as far as media entertainment, barring the news media, FDI is completely 100% automatic route. You have the Netflix of the world, you have the homegrown geos of the world, which are growing in stature, not just in our country, but they're taking our stories across the world. So a lot of that is happening. I understand, for example, Netflix takes our content to about 180 countries. And now there are movies which are generating a lot of revenue across the world. So our stories are traveling, but yeah, we need to do much more. We need to ensure that we at least take our share in the global media and entertainment business to 4%, because this is one segment which also has huge potential in terms of generating employment. Now that you have creators who are there in every village, every town, and all these creators. Aye, sir. Welcome. Only Neeraj had the privilege of coming in microwaves. We all had to travel the road, including the oven secretary. So, yeah. So, as you rightly said, when we did waves, the Honorable Prime Minister very clearly mentioned, and the tagline was kind of out of 300, 400 options that were given to him, effectively this was the option chosen by the Honorable Prime Minister. He said connecting creators, connecting countries. So his whole idea was, that the media and entertainment business should not be just treated as business. It's a way we are able to connect the creators across countries, and that's where the soft power comes in. And it was an effort to bring the global eyeballs to our country. And as Shivnath was pointing out, we could give them that experience, and hopefully, I think it will not remain an event. It's going almost become like a movement now, and our movement is going to help us grow the media entertainment business at least twice as much as we have in the next few years.
Sure. Thanks a lot. And, I'd like to welcome K. Srinivas, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, who's just joined us, and you need to leave early, I believe. So let me ask you a question right away. And this has kind of really engaged us across various sessions. And the issue is all about, Indian cities and how they seem to be sort of, adrift, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of various other areas that really makes, living a pleasure, right? So that doesn't seem to be happening currently. Most of the cities are in state of utter disarray. So do you have any plans, or what is the ministry's thinking around what needs to be done here, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I think, let me straight away address the elephant in the room. We have been looking at this demographic shift that is happening from the rural to the urban, semi-urban to the urban, smaller to the bigger to say the middle and the smaller. This is actually a great economic opportunity. Perhaps where we need to sharpen our act is the definition. There's been a huge definitional challenge of where it is that we define as potentially urban and where it is which is not urban. So we are currently confounded with 3 or 4 definitions that, of course, more at a what you might call as a theoretical plane, but it affects us because when all of us are trying to converge our energies, we are looking at different tools. So the set of tools are not the same. So one big challenge that we are going to address and hopefully transcend is address this definitional the problem so that all of us agree on what is urban. That is point number one. The point number two is flowing partly from that and flowing also from the fact that we have not converged our investment and our intellectual energies has resulted in either people chasing infrastructure or infrastructure chasing people, which means wherever the regulation has stopped, you will typically find development happening. So there is somebody trying to capitalize on the advantage of lower or lesser regulation, and thereby people getting located there, and thereafter infrastructure trying to go there. So there is a bit of a mismatch. But I do believe that government has now broadly come around to all the strategies and tools that are necessary to ensure that we will converge all these interventions very well. Broadly, number one, there is this clear understanding that we have to work in large economic geographies while identifying cities as growth hubs. That's point number one. Point number two, that large infrastructure needs to be converged, especially mobility infrastructure, so that the infrastructure supports both living and transaction of livelihoods and business opportunities. That is the second point. The third point, that public investment alone is not adequate. We have to harness both private investment and private talent to bringing the entire management framework or reorganize the management framework as a partnership. I think these are the three great shifts that are happening, which will release enormous economic energy.
Thanks for that. And question to you, Mr. Mittal. You know, the numbers, the Indian numbers pertaining to the digital sector are staggering. Extremely impressive growth in broadband numbers. You said 99.6% of the country is, 5G ready. And again, extremely competitive in terms of data. But despite all of this, we see a spate of, crimes happening. So I think the question is, how does the average citizen really function and embrace technology without getting nervous or outright swindled at the end of the day? So how is the department actually approaching this big problem which is simply growing by the day?
So we have to deal, technology with technology. As technology is growing, the reach is increasing, everybody is becoming dependent on it. I was just relating that incident to you in that audience room. It was kind of, it's eye-opening how much technology is into us and our daily activities and how much we are dependent on it. And therefore, mobiles have become a ubiquitous piece of hardware which delivers everything of our daily requirements, whether it's banking, whether it's going somewhere, whether it's getting a taxi. And we deal with different software platforms with different security assurances built into each one of those applications. Any one of them is weak, everything gets exposed. Apart from that, the reach of mobile with every citizen, we have 1.2 billion consumers, so almost everybody has a phone. And there are people who are sitting there only conjuring up tricks so starting from digital arrest to cyber frauds, to financial frauds. So the approach we have taken is not only technological, but also depend on people themselves by using crowdsourcing. We are creating platforms. There's something called a digital intelligence platform where we have almost 650 partners, including banks, GSTN, I4C. Shivnath is here. We collaborated with, in his previous avatar with WhatsApp to actually report crimes. Any actually financial frauds, you mentioned about financial frauds. within the moment it happens, within the next few minutes, the money actually gets disbursed to tens of different accounts in a jiffy, like with the speed of light. So it's very hard to actually get back any of this money. So a recent, initiative has been to launch the financial fraud risk indicator, and that has actually taken off pretty exponentially. Some of you may have seen that you get a message saying that this number has been reported to be involved in cyber, fraud. And different players are taking it differently. Somebody is delaying your transaction so that you can actually double check. Somebody is outright stopping the transaction. So once we detect that a number has been reported, we use AI to actually classify it into, 3 categories: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. And different financial players are using it to, do it differently, the actions differently. We have saved in the last maybe a couple of months, roughly about 140 and 50 crores transactions. These have not happened, so it's an estimate. We cannot say how much would have happened, but on an average, we are able to see that. We are also having a mobile number, revocation list, which prevents when we flag certain numbers, these are revoked, and they enable traceability across the sectors, especially the BFSI and social media platforms. Mobile thefts is another, because you can take somebody's mobile and then have access to it, its functionality, and defraud him. So there is a massive facility where you can actually report that your mobile has been stolen. It can be disabled centrally, so it doesn't work in any of the networks. An outcome of that is that these mobiles are getting exported to neighbor countries. They are using it. So we are now going with the help of MEA to Nepal, to Sri Lanka, to Burma, to Pakistan, and saying that, let us collaborate, let us make sure then they have to go further off. The cost of, mobiles being used increases. You must have faced this menace of, calls from +49, +39. These are all spoofed calls. Or calls from abroad, but with a +91 number. And that happened for almost a 6-month period. I'm sure nobody is getting those kind of calls now, for the simple reason that we implemented a solution to anybody who goes out from India, who has an Indian number, that number gets registered in a database. So when an incoming call comes with a +91 number, which is actually a US number or a number from Azerbaijan or somewhere else, all TSPs dip this database in real time. And if this +91 hasn't gone abroad, then it blocks it. So we were able to block from 1.5 crore calls per day to 1 lakh calls per day. So that is the kind of reduction. So you have to fight technology with technology. We are doing it. It's a race. We just need, there is a Sanchar Sathi app. I would urge all of you to download it. It automatically registers your number. You can find how many mobiles you have in your name. You can, report a mobile stolen. You will have to do it from some other mobile, not from that mobile, obviously. And there are a host of other facilities. Please do that. The more you do, the more helpful it is to block these.
So what is the name of the app you said for the
Sanchar Sathi.
Sanchar Sathi.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's both for Android and Apple.
Yeah. But then, as you said, the march of technology will not stop, and we will have to continue to sort of shore up our digital infrastructure. So what is happening to BharatNet? Last we heard it had reached 2.1 gram panchayats, 2.1 lakh gram panchayats. So where exactly is the project today?
So this project was called actually No Fun. It was a very typical name, but it was National Optical Fiber Network earlier. It had 2 versions already, BharatNet Phase 1 and then BharatNet Phase 2. We are now in the amended BharatNet program because we have learned from the mistakes we made in BharatNet 1 and 2. The program has been, it's a 1,40,000 crore program over the next 10 years, both CapEx and OpEx included. We have actually tendered out we have divided the country into 16 packages. 12 have already been awarded. Almost 1 lakh panchayats have been taken over by these operators to actually shore them up, connect them into a ring architecture so that we have high SLA. We are expecting the SLA to be about 98%. Right. All payments are linked to the SLA. Every state has a state knock. Now all this is being done with one purpose. And I remember in one of the meetings, there were people who were saying, why the hell are we doing BharatNet? And the Honorable Prime Minister said, in COVID, because we were digital, we are alive. And so his vision was that if there are, such catastrophic events, unless the country is connected digitally, we will not be able to actually survive these events. And so the aim is to connect all the 2.6 lakh villages with a digital pipe of 1 gigabits per second and ensure that they become engines of growth and contribute to this $7 trillion economy.
Oh, absolutely. Very impressive there. And back to you, Mr. Srinivas. We had the Chief Minister of Telangana here this morning, and he spoke about his ambitions to build a new city from the ground up. What would be the advice that you would give to him? If there are 4 or 5 things he really needs to focus on while going about his task, what should that be?
I'm sure Honorable Chief Minister Telangana is well advised there, but I believe everybody is working in the same direction. As I was saying, we need about 20 new cities to absorb the 45 odd crore that is going to be added to our population. So we are looking at 20 new Delhis. So when Honorable CM Telangana is talking about future city, which is what I believe he spoke about, he is really articulating the vision of using the economic energy of the Telangana region and encapsulating it within that particular area. Right. So I think it is definitely not only a need of the hour, but a very, very strategic policy intervention. It is the right way to go. The second thing I would say is that in our country, what we are really looking at is about 8 to 10 large economic regions, which are going to drive the economic progress. As we go forward in the next 10, 12 years, we will see GDP becoming more and more urbanized, 83 to 84%. So all of it is going to get generated in these areas. So therefore, it naturally has to be supported. So our own estimate is, of course, the World Bank estimate was about $880 billion of urban infrastructure. So add a little bit here and there, you're looking at $1 trillion investment that is needed in a reasonably foreseeable future. It cannot be interminable. So that kind of an investment has to be harnessed, and that should be concentrated into areas which will support rapid and sustainable economic growth.
And are you working with the states to ensure that?
Yeah, we are working very closely. In fact, last year, the theme of the Chief Secretary's Conference, which is an annual conference, was around economic growth regions.
Right.
So this was a consensus that we all need to work in this direction. So we are very much optimistic and gung-ho, and the trigger really is in building our abilities of the public sector to work with the private sector. Sure. So the impediment so far has been, and I'll take a minute more and before I take your leave, is we have not been able to make the revenue streams of the public sector at the urban local space visible.
Right.
So every time you've been just talking about what are the balance sheets of the corporations, which are normally not very good. What we are not recognizing is the latent value of the assets that they possess. The assets have to be brought into play, and once we start bringing that asset into play, then it would be very, I think, attractive and viable for the private sector and the capital markets to respond to this opportunity. I think this is the path ahead, and we'll really look forward to collaborating and utilizing all our colleagues sitting in the audience. Sure. May I take your leave? I have.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thanks a lot. And, one question for you, Mr. Jaju. You did mention about generative AI and how it's the biggest disruptor today in the entertainment industry. And, it's made things much, much easier. You have extremely colorful, realistic sort of content that is being generated in a jiffy today. But on the flip side, there is also, racy content of, questionable sort of, characteristics. So what is first of all, is the ministry really applying itself to addressing some of these concerns? It could be, fake news, content that is not authentic, etc., wrongful depiction of individuals.
Yeah, that's what I said. Generative AI could arguably be the biggest disruptor of all times. I mean, not just for the media and entertainment segment, but for every segment that we understand. Every such disruption, especially technological disruption, be it the industrial revolution or the internet revolution, if you want to call social media as a revolution, call it, but then you also now have the generative AI revolution. Arguably, this is the biggest. And as was being pointed out, I think a few days back, that I think it's really being underhyped right now. The import is huge. I mean, look at the media and entertainment segment. You have recently a blockbuster, Sayyara, a movie that had a song, and the song was a hit. Somebody did a tweak on it, generative AI, and then they had a Kishore Kumar doing that song, and then somebody puts it on the old Amitabh Bachchan video. And now you have Amitabh Bachchan doing the Sayyara song, Kishore Kumar doing the Sayyara, but Amitabh Bachchan is a playback. And that song again became a huge hit, and it became very difficult. Many of us actually thought that, it was Kishore who sang it then, and they have kind of redo the song now and release it now. So it was so difficult for anybody to decipher that this was not original Kishore Kumar, this is Kishore Kumar's voice. And that's the level. I have an app right now on my phone. I'm myself a music lover, so I keep producing songs, and I put some lyrics into it, and I have a song ready in few minutes. And depending upon what genre I want, depending upon what style I want to give to the song, you're getting songs ready. I mean, this would take months and months of effort. Look at the video technology that's now coming in. I mean, within no time you realize that whatever VFX we were seeing earlier, all that VFX is going to get generated with so much ease and so much speed that is going to really kind of disrupt this whole economy. It has positives because, it's going to bring down the cost immensely. For example, the kind of money that you're giving to for technology. But then the flip side would be that somebody would say that now you're training all these machines on all Kishore Kumars, and who's going to get the royalty? Where is the protection of the intellectual property? And how are the artists going to flourish? There will be a time when everything, if it's, for example, you can create a movie in which you have the young Amitabh Bachchan becoming the son of the old Shah Rukh Khan, right? All possible through generative AI. Raj Kapoor could be, a Raj Kapoor clone could be the brother, and you can have any combination possible, right? If you are able to do all this, and it will be very difficult for anybody from the naked eye to decipher whether this is real or this is generative AI. And of course, every screen experience is actually not a real experience, but it tends to give you that feeling that it's all real. But now that technology is going to take over all that, while on the one side, it's going to bring down the cost. You can do everything in a studio. You don't need to have any large sets being created. You don't even require actors. You will create superstars. Studios may own artificial intelligence created superstars who could be acting in movies, etc. So, it's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what's going to happen. So it has implications, as you rightly mentioned, deep fakes. I mean, you have whole range of videos floating around with faces now being changed, voices being mimicked, So it's very difficult for anybody to, figure out what's going to be, what is fake and what is not fake. And that's where I think, as Neeraj pointed out, every technology is going to have a technology solving a problem that created by that technology.
Very true.
I think in the movie Sholay they had this, right? Loha lohe ko kaatta hai. I mean, something like that, right? So it's going to have, you will definitely have to have, it's possibly the generative AI which is going to kind of distinguish and put out a signature somewhere there that look, this has been generated and this is a computer graphics. This is an AI generated computer graphics. So to that extent, artificial intelligence is going to be a huge disruptor for this segment. It might, by bringing down the cost, improve the returns on the investment, which is again good for the health of any segment of industry. And but on the flip side, you also have all these negatives of deep fakes, protection of protection of intellectual property, fair distribution of revenues. I mean, another question that comes in, if you're training a machine on a data that was owned by somebody, and now you're making use of that data to create new products, would it not be fair that part of the revenue that you earn out of that product gets shared with those who actually own the data in the first place? So I mean, there are all these questions which are there. And these questions are not limited to our country. These questions are being raised in all forums. You had the Hollywood all on strike for close to a year, primarily on this issue.
No, absolutely.
Who is going to be owning the artistic rights, etc. So that's why I said, generative AI is going to disrupt many segments. But I think the media and entertainment segment is one which is already getting disrupted and which will continue to get disrupted.
Yeah.
And
in fact, at this
it's important that, we understand the implications and work towards it, both to, embrace it to the extent it helps us, but at the same time to, create guardrails which allow us to, mitigate the problems that are going to come our way.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. In fact, we had Nikhil, our discussant, who has one question for Mr. Mittal. Quickly. You're in a hurry to leave?
Yeah, I have to leave.
No, absolutely. One quick question.
Yeah,
Nikhil.
very, very quick question. This is related to the manufacturing industry. We have spoken that the manufacturing industry is catering to about 17% of GDP. We are working towards a milestone, not a destination of $7 trillion. And I believe that the $30 trillion by 2047 is where we want to be at. The question to you, sir, and I'm sure, every time we come back with us, the industry keeps coming and asking, saying we want policy, we want changes, we want PLI, various things. But what is the expectation the government has towards the industry, taking in particular the manufacturing industry, in particular the electronics industry? What is the expectation the government has? What is the industry expectation you have?
So I think the government really, the Prime Minister has actually said it very publicly that, we need to be self-reliant. And that means that whatever development and manufacturing can happen in India must happen in India. We must manufacture not just for India, but for the world. And we can see a lot of that happening over the last 3 years. The manufacturing in telecom has grown 7-fold. Thanks to the PLI scheme. It was one of the early PLI schemes which had a design-linked incentive in it, which is becoming a mainstay in the upcoming schemes to encourage manufacturing. Government would like that companies invest not only in their own setup but also in the upstream and downstream ecosystem. We are planning to set up a dedicated, an area where telecom manufacturing can happen, actively considering that. The idea is that you have everything which is telecom specific in terms of testing facilities, equipment, ecosystem, all the players supporting, mechanical, electromechanical, surface mount technologies, PCB manufacturing, all that can happen in one place. The government really would like that, India becomes a world leader, and we are, in the new telecom policy, we have said that we would like to double our, national, exports over the next 5 years. So I think the long and short is manufacture for the world.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a picture and...
Okay, so any, very quickly, one question from the audience. Nikhil Rao, are you here? Right. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, it's the last session, so, okay, there is one person, yeah.
So we've seen, this is an open question if anyone would like to answer. Technology has developed very quickly, very rapidly over the past 25 years, but a lot of technology is moot and meaningless if it's inaccessible to 80% of our country's population. So what is the government's vision to make technology more accessible? Not just things like a handheld device, more than that, sir. Just this ecosystem of technology.
DPIs, perhaps?
I think, to say that, technologies only survive when they are automatically adopted by masses. So the innovators make sure that, is there anybody in this country who, thanks to, Shivnath's previous company, not using WhatsApp? There are verbs using WhatsApp, right? WhatsAppiago. And it's used by maids, it's used by, and they're innovating every day to make sure that, you can do financing, finance transactions over it, you can make groups, you can do social, you can do calls. So I think if government stays away from, trying to access, yes, and that's what BharatNet is about, that there should be no digital divide. But I think in terms of any active, interventions from the government to make a particular technology, useful for any, part of population, I don't think that really is a role of the government.
And one more point just to supplement what Neeraj mentioned. The whole definition of digital literacy is completely got a paradigm shift. 10 years back, I would call my mother, who is digitally illiterate. But today, I won't call her that because, as Neeraj pointed out, she's able to make use of her phone for doing all kinds of things that a digitally literate individual would do. So to that extent, the whole paradigm has changed. And coming to the accessibility part, thanks to the work that's happening in our country in terms of telecom infrastructure, I was in a village, 2,000 population, 7 kilometers away from the highway. So a very small village. It happens to be one of my, it's my Nanaji's village, a very small village. And believe me, I was totally surprised that, and I went to that village almost 15 years since I last went. And I was very much presently surprised that I could watch India-England playing a test match game. The entire game, I could watch it on my mobile phone sitting in that village. At as good quality as you get it in Delhi. So the accessibility part is not getting addressed, and I think anybody who makes a over-the-top application, be it the kind of Amazons or the Netflix variety that you see, or any other application that's created like WhatsApp, etc., I think they ensure that it's accessible. And one good thing that's happening because of generative AI, etc., is the language part that is getting addressed. In our country, the bulk of the population is not digital illiteracy. It's primarily the problem with English, maybe. So that is also getting addressed in terms of a lot of these transliterations, etc., available. And I'm sure that's not going to be a major issue for us to worry about.
Yeah. Thanks a lot to both of you for coming in today despite your busy schedules. Sunita, you want to wrap up quickly, please?
Yeah, in the interest of everybody's time, I would just say that a huge thank you to our panelists. Very interesting conversation, great insights, and a lot of takeaways, I'm sure. I would just say that, what struck to me was that in order to get there, we not just have to harness on the economic power, or economic growth, but also rely a lot on the soft power that we have as India has been an ancient great storyteller. So how about harnessing that and bringing the India brand to the fore? But thank you again, and thank you so much for those wonderful insights.